Hey everyone, I'm in week 2 of my YouTube vlog series for game development and art, and this week I actually got to do a little bit of design work on the next game that I want to make. So I've had this idea going on for a little while now, and it's based on the Heroes of Linnea plotline, um, and it's heavily inspired by some of the games I've played in the past. So I took some inspiration from Fire Emblem, their support system, and I've recently been playing Dicey Dungeons, One Step from Eden, these roguelikes, and I'm trying to take those core ideas and put them together into a new game. So for my Heroes game, I'm really trying to focus on one core concept. So the idea of this game is going to be focused around support bonds. And support bonds is something that we found in Fire Emblem. This is where if you play multiple characters, they can build relationships while out in the battlefield. And my hope is that with my game, I can really flesh out and deepen the support bond system by building an entire game design, game mechanics, and story around it. So this latest project, it's codenamed Heroes right now. I don't have a good title for it yet, but it's going to feature a bunch of different heroes from this fantasy world that I'm building. And I have some notes here that I'd like to share with you guys. These are the 2 pages that I wrote together this week, and they really summarize together like what this game is going to be about, the themes, the concepts, some of the basic mechanics. And over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be fleshing each one of these out individually. So to start, this latest project, maybe I'll just read off my work here. It's going to be a party management roguelike. So for example, in games like Dicey Dungeon, One Step from Eden, and the Slay the Spire, these roguelike games where you're going through a couple of different stages and arenas and fighting through them, they're more based on managing your own deck, right? Or managing your skills and abilities and executing on them from stage to stage. But this roguelike that I would like to build is more of a party management one where you're recruiting heroes, you're recruiting characters, adding them to your roster, and then deploying them on the battlefield. So instead of individual abilities, each of these abilities will be encapsulated in your roster of characters. And this will be a little more like a role-playing game like Pokemon or Final Fantasy, where you're trying to manage a party. Okay, and the core idea is going to be that the parties are about togetherness, right? So the key thing that I want players to focus on in this game is building a party that synergizes very well with each other. You want to be drafting characters that support each other well, and then building up their relationships, building up those support bonds as you play. So from level to level, your goal is not just to build experience, like combat experience for each of your characters, right? Your goal is to make sure that your characters are fighting side by side, and that they're learning from the experience of fighting together. So the way I'm going to implement that, this theme of developing synergies and growing a team and really supporting each other, it's going to be designed around the sort of a multiplicative model, and showing the value of stacking relationship on top of relationship. So you're going to have a network of characters on the battlefield, and these characters are going to be buffing each other, healing each other, watching each other's back, and providing each other additional stats. So that's the core of the game there. I think I might have to implement like a freeform formation editor, because if it was on like a chessboard, like a 8x8 grid, sort of like what auto chess, Underlords, and Teamfight Tactics are right now, I feel like the 8x8 grid is really nice to manage mentally for players because they're familiar with, there's 64 slots on the board and you place characters next to each other. But I think that sort of rigid grid-like implementation is going to be limiting in terms of what you could possibly do in your character formation. So one thing that I really want to build, is a more sandbox-like editor where you can place your units anywhere. You can really tweak the minutia of like how far your character is from another character. Perhaps you could have auras and buffs that work better the closer you are to someone, and that weaken as you go farther away, right? So the hero units are going to be core to the game, and I have a little drawing here of like how a hero unit might be visualized on the screen with their auras. So my plan is to have the hero unit contain a bunch of different layers of auras, and these are areas of effect where if another hero is standing in that zone, they're going to be affected by this hero. So for example, a very popular thing in role-playing games is the effect of leadership and morale building, right? So you could have a character with leadership aura, and any other unit that's near that unit is affected and boosted by that leadership. These are all sort of zones, auras or zones of effect that are going to be applying mods around the heroes. And some other things that are core to this game are going to be abilities. These could be attack abilities, casting abilities. I'm not quite sure yet on the implementation of how the player is going to be managing these abilities, but there could be some choice between passive and active abilities, and all these abilities should be modded by the zones and those auras, right? And lastly, the final core to the game, I introduced this earlier, but this is the idea of the support bonds, and you're going to be building these support bonds between characters and heroes and nurturing them, making sure that they stay together from arena to arena. And there's always going to be a cost benefit between choosing to keep two characters close to each other together or modifying your formation to add in a new character. So what happens when you draft a new character for your party, right? You have to figure out a space for them. Perhaps you might swap one character out for another one, or extend your network so that this new character is on the periphery. So maybe they're getting some of the buffs, but not all of them. And then you're going to want to decide for that new character who they're going to build a relationship with, right? So who are they going to support? Who's going to support them? If you have a newbie on your party, that's someone that's new to your team. And the consideration there is always like, well, you already have this existing team dynamic, right, going on in your party. What happens when the new person joins? They have to learn the rules and sort of the existing game plan that your party is already used to. You have to adjust a bit to make sure that they're also adding some value to your team, and then you have to train them and nurture them. So the visuals of this game, I imagine, because there's going to be so many auras on the battlefield, that it's going to be very visually complex. But at the same time, that complexity could be really stimulating and really interesting. So just imagine like your screen is filled with 5 to 6 characters, and each one has a glow around them. And not just one glow, but layers upon layers of different colors and different glows. And you can sort of sort through them, and as you play the game, you learn the meanings of these colors and like which ones you think are the most important to your strategy. So to wrap up, I just want to summarize like why I'm trying to make this game. It's going to be a game about the player choice, because I'm sort of going for that roguelike type of game structure. The player is going to be constantly trying to figure out the best choice for their team, right? Because you start out with one character, and you start recruiting new hero units to your party, and you're going to have to decide, who's the best person to complement my hero. Which one should I recruit? Then once you pick up additional heroes in your roster, which ones should I deploy? Where should I deploy them? Who should I deploy them with? Right? I really enjoyed the support conversations in Fire Emblem. This was when you played characters next to each other and had them fight together in close proximity from battle to battle, and they would build support relationships. And you would go from like a C to B to A to S. And along the way, you would unlock character stories and support conversations between these characters. And the amazing thing about this was that through gameplay, you sort of felt that your characters were really becoming closer and closer. So you're not just seeing them as like killing machines on the battlefield, but you see your characters as sort of a pair or trio that are working together in unison. So really glad I was able to share this with you guys. And stay tuned, because I'm going to be fleshing out this game design, perhaps working on a couple of mock-ups and character drawings, and then maybe even designing some mini games for this character. Of course, I want to keep this game small for now, so I'll start perhaps with building a prototype, and then seeing where it goes from there. I'm really excited about this idea because it's bringing a lot of core concepts from games that I really like, and just mashing it all together. And I think there's something fresh here, and it really will allow me to tell character stories that I want to tell. So thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any great ideas about video games, or any feedback you have about this project in particular, go ahead and leave a comment and give me your feedback. I'd love to hear it. Thank you.